Hi, everybody. Our first speaker this morning, Mr. John Zamoiski, began his career in 1976 as a regional marketing director with the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey, where he learned the art of field marketing and promotion on every level across the country. After gaining experiences at a few more agencies, John found his own vertical mix marketing in 1994. This full-service strategic planning, strategic alliance, and execution agency represented clients such as NBC Cable Networks, Food Network, AOL, Showtime, and others. In 2001, he merged with the GEM Group, where he led the agency's entertainment and media practice as president of GEM Entertainment. In 2003, Mr. Zamoiski founded his second company, Bottle Rocket Marketing Group, which grew to 3 offices and represented over 50 clients. Bottle Rocket Marketing Group became the largest marketing agency in the cable television industry and grew to become a major power in event marketing. He is now the Chief Opportunity Officer at AdLarge Media and supports the company's continued expansion into new content acquisitions, while also working cross-platform integrated marketing partnerships. He is one of the best strategists and creative output people in the business. John graduated from W&L in 1974 with a degree in the J School. Please join me in welcoming Mr. John Zamoiski.
Okay, we got some people awake. This is great. Thank you all for having me here. It's great to be back at W&L. I want to start by apologizing to our next speaker, Marty, because I wore a tie this morning and forced him to put on a tie. So where's my clicker? You took away the mouse. Oh, there it is. Okay. So what happened was we got into this discussion sitting at the Palm last night, having a few beers, etc., and everything changed with what I wanted to talk to you about today. So I actually have 2 presentations, and I'm going to get through the first one quick because that one's about technology and what's going on. And the second one is about something completely different that you really need to hear. But although Tom, who spoke to us at dinner last night, is not here, I'm going to start with giving you a quote that is from a gentleman by the name of Alvin Toffler. Now, Alvin Toffler wrote a book called Future Shock. And Future Shock was the first marketing book I ever read back here under L.K. Johnson in the 1970s. And in Future Shock, he said, and I'm paraphrasing, and I'm sorry Tom's not here to razz me, but he said, technology is not the issue. Progress is not the issue. The issue is the rapidity of the progress and our ability to be able to absorb the rapidity of the change. And that's the explosion that's going on right now. We end up skipping things because the next technology comes too fast on the heels of the one before that. You're probably not aware of this, but between CDs and MP3 players, or if you will, iTunes, there was something in between called DAT, digital audio tape. Nobody adopted it. And the reason they didn't adopt it was it happened too fast. You're dealing with every generation of change in an iPhone. You're dealing with every generation of change in the audio, in the video industry, and in the engagement models. So, what do we want to talk about? Okay. Oops, sorry. First of all, I want to give you a little bit about what I do now. I am one of the owners of a company called AdLarge Media. And I'm just going to give you a real quick about this so you understand what's going on. Those of you who are in ad class, it's very important for you to understand the applications. This is not greatest hits or anything like that. This is to show you what's going on. In our business, we understand that passion is the passport to influence. And we represent content that feeds listener passion. We are the radio side of NCAA football, of NASCAR, Yahoo Sports Radio, the Rock and Roll Classic Rock and Roll Awards, podcasting, Farnoosh Torabi, So Money, Shaquille O'Neal on radio and on podcasting. We have all of these different things, and it's all passion. It's lean forward. And you need to understand that there's a huge difference in lean forward, because lean forward is about paying attention. This is not Spotify. This is not Pandora. This is not, it's happening in the background. You're going to be hit over your period of time with a lot of facts and figures, and a lot of them are crap. And the reason is if you're not paying attention to it, it doesn't matter that it's there. I heard a story about Coca-Cola not too long ago. And the story about Coca-Cola was that a guy came in and he offered 100 million impressions at a ridiculously low rate. Well, it actually turned out that what he was offering was $5 an impression. And the reason was because the stuff was not seen. It was on when the computer was off. It was below the line. All of these different things. And there were simpler ways of doing it. There's an old line that there's truth, lies, and statistics. And you have to keep that in mind. So we represent content that feeds listener passion because they're passionate about what they watch. They're passionate about what they do. It's not lean back. Oops. Our listeners embrace sponsors that support those passions. I've learned a lot from NASCAR. You know, I always wondered why they pay so much money to have that little logo on the side of a car. Well, the reason is that the fans of those teams, those driving teams in NASCAR, they support and they buy the products because they're supporting their team. They said, I want to buy this product to make sure that company knows that it's important to me. So in all of these things, whether it's NCAA football, whether it's car racing, we do the Indy 500 as well, whether it's classic rock, these are listener passions. They want to hear the interviews, etc., and they love to listen to this. Our sponsors depend on our passion-based programming to increase the value of their messaging. And when you look at these and you talk to media buying agencies, you'll find that they pay more for what we have. It's not that it's any more valuable in relative terms, but they're going to buy it for more money because they know the people are listening. It's not hit or miss. The people are there for them. Our marketing team, and this becomes the other part of it, has to translate that and translate their objectives into multifaceted programs that tap into listener passions, which is all sorts of promotions that come off of this and that you do at retail, that you do at events, all of different types of things. And our entire team basically leverages the unique appeal of our passion-based content to differentiate us from other things that we're selling. I'm not telling you this to sell you anything. I'm telling you to differentiate so that you understand that when you're looking at something, you have a lot of different ways that can help you decide whether it's appropriate. So let's get down to the business. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about audio today because audio has changed. Radio, which everybody says is dead, still reaches 90% of every demographic every week. It's still there. And it gets a 6-to-1 return on investment for advertisers. These aren't mine. This is from Nielsen. This is what Nielsen tells you. But here's where the real change and the sea change is. Digital audio. I don't know how many of you listen to podcasts. The world of podcasting is changing today. 143 million people, individuals a month, are now listening to podcasting on a monthly basis and on digital streaming. They are finding what they want. We represent a lot of this content and all different types of it. 89 million people who ever listened to a podcast at some point in their lives. But now it's 143 million, and it's getting bigger. Everybody's heard of Serial that was on NPR. 140 million downloads of Serial. Now that was by about 20 million people because they were doing multiples. But the world is changing because in 4 more years, 90% of all cars in the United States will have Wi-Fi. What that means is SiriusXM will literally go out of business at a certain point unless you're listening to the Howard Stern Show because you'll be able to access whatever you want on Wi-Fi in your car. It's going to change the dynamic of how you go with that. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to give you 3 very quick examples.
The 2015 NASCAR season's heating up. Exergen invites you to join in on the excitement by guessing the temperature at the start of today's race, then listening to the broadcast to see if you're accurate. You just might win an Exergen temporal scanner thermometer. Visit ExergenRaceTemp.com for details. From Richmond International Raceway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
What I wanted to show you there was the fact that in regular radio today, what's happening and what's changing in regular radio is that radio today, you integrate into what's going on. Who wants to sit there and listen about what a temporal scanner, basically taking your temperature, who wants to sit there and listen to that? But if you tie it into something different, that's what you look at in ad class when you're taking a look at your Snapple case study right now and what you're doing. Find ways to integrate it into people's lives. Now, the next one I'm actually going to kill at some point. I'm going to probably need your help when to kill it, Jenna, and how to kill the video. But I just want to show you. The next one is a podcasting example. There is a show that used to be on the air called Opie and Anthony. And now Anthony Cumia has his own radio show. And there's a company out there. Has anybody here ever heard of Loot Crate? Anybody? Okay. Loot Crate started 4 years ago, crowdfunding of $20,000. It's basically, who knows Birchbox? Everybody know Birchbox? Okay. This is Birchbox for gamers. They started with $20,000 in crowdfunding. They now have close to 700,000 monthly subscribers who get a little box of all sorts of gamer gear, all sorts of fun stuff. And we put it on Anthony Cumia's show where he interacted. This is a podcast, 45,000 subscribers behind a paywall, and it crashed the Loot Crate system.
Right. Well, this is like Christmas. And this will happen every month for you. Just get new stuff. Oh my God, wait a minute. Hexbug. Scarab Hexbug.
He gave this to his cat.
This? Beavis! We'll go across the floor. That's...
You look like a kid at Christmas right now.
Create a simulator. Ooh. Super Fight, the Loot Crate deck.
You get the idea. The point is, monthly subscription box, in content, voice reads only. That's all we did. He just interacted with it. Let his cat play with some of the stuff. And it crashed the system. He became, after a 2-week trial, took a year contract. By the way, learn something about podcasting, and especially this for ad class. Do not buy every day. You buy podcasts maybe once a week, twice a week, depending on what it is, because people get bored with it. Don't forget, this is an on-demand type of thing. The last thing is to show you that even in radio, that this works really well. Now, this is from
On Tap exclusive. Andy Carter here in Los Angeles for the 2014 Classic Rock Roll of Honor. Tonight, the Reissue of the Year award will be given out. Kiss, the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, The Clash, Yes, Pink Floyd, Deep Purple, Ramones, Soundgarden, and Velvet Underground are all in the running for the trophy. Zeppelin is up for the deluxe editions of their albums Led Zeppelin 1, 2, and 3. Guitarist Jimmy Page was behind the project, and he told us his goal with the re-releases.
Each disc will give a really intimate picture of the group. That's the idea that I've had with it, and I think it's successful. I know it is.
This 2014 Classic Rock Roll of Honor report is brought to you by Gibson. Gibson Brands. Play, record, listen.
Okay, what we did was we gave away a Gibson guitar that was signed by all of these classic rock artists, and people my age love that kind of crap. My point is that you have a lot of choices. And these are successes, and I want to tell you, I'm going to get past this. What we do is we work in passion-based content with passionate listeners about that, and the sponsors are passionate about what they get involved with, which gives you a passionate team. So we do all of this stuff, and that's what I wanted to start with. But that's not what I want to talk to you about. And this comes from last night sitting at the Palm, and also because of a gentleman sitting here who gave his speech, Tom. So I don't know where's the next, is it directly on it? Do I go right through? Or do you have to? We have to click something. I actually wrote a new speech this morning based on last. I'm dead serious. And it's very simple, but it's to tell you a story. We set? She's so good at this and so calm. Get to the beginning. There we go. Okay, Tom. This is today's important inspirational quote. And this is basically, this was in an article this morning. This is fresh off the presses. To say that the audience is fragmented is an understatement. It has exploded. Consumers have the luxury of choice and convenience. They're empowered to control their experience in the way they want it to. And we need to listen to what their wants and what their needs are in order to meet those expectations. This is in an email this morning. And I wrote this at 6:30. I said, my God, I've got to tell them a story because this is about A&E Network. So I'm going to tell you a story about failure. You hear about success all the time, but let me tell you about failure. A&E did a remake of a classic movie called Coma. came out many years ago, and they decided to do a 2-night on the network. It's only good enough to be 1 2-hour movie, but they were going to expand it to 2 hours. Our job was to create an experience at Comic-Con that drives viewership to this. Oops, I got to go backwards. How do I go back? How do I go back? Help.
Click the arrow going the other way on the keyboard.
On the keyboard. Back. Okay, oh, here's the keyboard underneath, sorry. Okay, I'm in trouble. Fix it. Let's hit Fiat, fix it again, Tony. Okay, great.
Which one?
The next one, there. So we took up a 40,000 square foot parking lot and built a hospital. The movie was about a hospital that was, when you went in to have knee surgery, you didn't wake up and you were brain dead. And the idea was they were actually killing people, hanging them in the back then, brain dead, and they were harvesting their organs to sell out the back door for transplant, right? Good premise. So hence the person hanging up in the air. Don't let them put you under. Tony Scott, Ridley Scott's brother, they did it together. Too great, and we built a hospital. And the hospital that we built, we had 100 actors as nurses, doctors, etc. A makeup artist who actually was the former head clown at Ringling Brothers, who became a makeup artist and created Beetlejuice and won an Academy Award, and also was the head of makeup on Lost. Now he does the show Code Black, and he does another couple of shows. He does all the X-Men movies. So he created some stuff which I'll show you. So we create this hospital. And what he does is he creates these scars. Those are rubber. And we brought in 40,000 people who wanted to have these put on their neck, on their head, on their arms, etc. Those are actually little stitches, and these are nothing but rubber. And we had makeup artists, and what we did was, we populated an emergency room so that the artists would do all of this. Now, guess what happened? You register, you come through, you have your phone, you are taking pictures like crazy of everything. As you can imagine, it gets pretty interesting. From there, of course, we went to the autopsy room. And we had all dark lights and everything, and they're taking the bodies apart. Then you got your picture taken, and it puts you into the poster for the movie. Okay? All the right things. 40,000 people came through in 4 days. 80 million digital impressions. The movie went on the next week, and the first quarter-hour ratings were massive. And then the results were a complete disaster. The ratings dropped like a rock. I mean, you couldn't find anybody watching this show after 15 minutes. It was so bad, and the event went so well, that A&E did not let us enter the event itself in any of the event competitions. They just wanted to forget about this. So the valuable lesson and the moral of the story is, if the product sucks, marketing can't save it. It's that simple. And what you have to do as a responsible marketer through ad class, you owe it to tell your client, if you're on that side. You owe it if you're on the brand side. Tell your client that it sucks. And tell them at the same time how to improve it. There is nothing different than the honor system here about never lying, cheating, or stealing. It's the same thing. Tell them the truth. Because in some way, shape, or form, it's going to come back in a very good way for you. Maybe that day. But you know what? We all deal with a lot of mediocrity out there. One of the things you heard from Tom last night that was really, really important was the fact that we are bombarded by so many different messages from advertising, but we have so many other distractions. So you have to break through. And if you take up somebody's time with something that sucks, they won't forgive you. There's no way back from it. They will switch. I learned a long time ago that there's a difference between having a brand loyalist and a brand advocate. A brand loyalist is somebody who sticks with you for as long as you take good care of them as a brand. And a brand advocate is one who will be brave enough to tell you what's wrong and give you the opportunity to self-correct. The classic case in marketing is Coca-Cola. When New Coke came out many years ago, the brand advocate said, we don't like this product. And they created a second brand called Coke Classic. And eventually, New Coke went away. It's one of the best case studies in marketing in the history of marketing. So, if the product sucks, marketing can't save it. But you can save the company. You can save your brand by doing the right analysis. And that's the important message for today. Not everything is a hit. Not everything is a success. People can come up and tell you all the greatest things that they've done. It's like when you write your resume. You don't tell them where you failed. But what you do is you analyze what the opportunity is, and you take that. Whether it's new technology that you're working with, whether it's a brand you're working with, be true to what you're doing, and you're going to win. Any questions? Anybody want to boo at me, throw anything? Yes, sir.
Yeah, when you do kind of give your clients this tough love, you have a bad product, how's that go as far as them being receptive to that kind of feedback?
Depends on how you come at them. There is no such thing as walking in and saying it sucks and walking out the door. You better come in with a solution, because that's what you're being paid for. In the marketing business, whether you're on the brand side or whether you're in the agency side, your job is to solve a puzzle. And that puzzle has many different forms. There's a creative puzzle. There's a delivery puzzle. There's a distribution puzzle. There's a messaging puzzle. There's a branding puzzle. There are all these puzzles. You know, most people don't realize this. 75% of all marketing dollars are not spent against consumers. They're spent against the trade. Why? Because if you're tooling down the aisles in the grocery store, and if you see that display at the end of Ritz crackers, what's your first thought? It's on sale. Boy, I like Ritz crackers. Maybe I'll stock up. Well, the way it got there was that they did an incentive program of some sort to the store, to the manager, to the guy who stocks the shelves, because they know that they're going to get a turn of 4 times more from instead of in the center aisle by having it on the end. So you have to come in with solutions. Don't come in with criticism unless you've got a way to solve the situation. If it's a bad product, give them your best advice of how you're going to improve the benefits. Or if they've taken the time to invest in a product, find out who the right market is, because they may be telling you their market is somebody and it's the wrong market for what they can get the most out of. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Did you have advanced knowledge of the Coma product before it came out?
None. All we had was what's all wonderful, which is the sizzle reel. Sure.
Get the other. Keep answering.
So all we had was the sizzle reel, which is typical in entertainment products. You know, there's a company called Trailer Park. Their entire business is doing trailers for movies. And how often have you seen this? You see a trailer for a movie, and it's everything that was the best of the movie, and the movie is just terrible. Well, the marketers only get to see that. They don't get to see the rushes. We didn't get to see the rushes of any of that. Look, I worked on The Walking Dead and did all the Walking Dead work. I had no idea that that was going to be a hit. We just, okay. Yeah, who knew? We had no idea when we did Mad Men what a monster that was going to be. And we had no money to work with. We made a deal with Banana Republic that became iconic every year, where we took over all the windows with all the fashions, etc. You don't know. You also don't know how people are going to react. Sometimes it's a matter of editing even of how it happens. But I've worked on brands like Dunkin' Donuts. I've worked on Campbell's Soup. I've worked on a ton of different types of work. I work for Toys R Us. You don't know how things are going to be that you're going to get and in what shape you're going to get it in. Your job isn't just to sell, because the worst thing that can happen is having to resell the same product over and over again, because you have to find a new way to reach a different audience because the audience you've got didn't work. Yeah?
So a follow-up to that, are there techniques you'd recommend for transparency with your client to try and get them to give you that additional information so that you're not walking in, blindly to some
You know, the answer is yes, but the transparency is, first of all, if you're on the agency side, what you have to understand is your client knows their product better than you can ever know their product. They live and breathe it for 24 hours a day. If you're on the agency side, the best thing that you can do is you can be their eyes on the world and be their partner in that regard. If they had the time to do your job, they do your job. But you have to be their eyes on the world. You have to be the one who's standing there with them and telling them all the different things that are happening that are similar. I worked in the long distance telephone industry as well as in the cable industry. These things transfer back and forth. You look for similar situations, similar ways of, so your transparency is give them the best advice you can based on all the knowledge that you can get and let them come to their own decision. People are smart and they will come to that decision. The greatest disappointment I've had in marketing has actually been in packaged goods marketing. And I will tell you the company was Kraft General Foods. I was at Mondelez. This goes back about 3 years ago. I was in Mondelez in Chicago, and they were showing me products that they were putting out for sampling. Why? Because they had a window of how long they would stay good. And they said as they got within the 2-month period, they'd send them out for sampling because it fit their bottom line. And then they would get rid of the product itself. First, they would sample it out, and then they would kill the brand. Because it fit a financial model, it had nothing to do with the brand anymore. It's disappointing that when a product like that, they're looking at the financials on the bottom only. They're not looking at where did they make the wrong turn in the first place. So.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you signed up